certainly we got to know this great lady and what she meant.
And you saw her dedication to
That's right.
her ideas.
And in a subsequent year, when our children at the Children's Village at Meir had prepared a scrapbook telling about the life of their village, and they dedicated, it was done with pictures and words, and they dedicated this, without our knowledge even, to the greatest woman in the world, the First Lady of the world, that's what they called it, Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt. And when we got that, we sent her a note and asked her if she would be willing to come to New York sometime and receive it so we could transmit it.
Yeah.
And to our pleasant surprise, she wrote back, gave us a date when she was going to be in New York, and we arranged a meeting with our national board, and Mrs. David DeSolopool represented the senior board. They changed their minds about how much outside work we should do. I have a picture on my wall to prove that.
Really? Of Mrs. DeSolopool?
Mrs. DeSolopool and Mrs. Roosevelt and me.
You.
And I'm handing her this book. And she sat with us for about an hour and a half, and she told us how impressed she was and asked us a lot of questions about the village. And I remember Shulamith Schwartznardi was visiting in the country at the time, and she had some active latest knowledge about the village, and she told her. And then a couple of days later, in a column that she wrote, a daily column called My Day,
Right.
by Eleanor Roosevelt, she devoted that column to Junior Hadassah and the Children's Village and the scrapbook that she was the recipient of.
Do you have the column? Somebody must
in
have
the
it.
files.
Yeah.
I have the picture on the wall, but
yeah.
but the
But they have files from
sure,
My Day.
oh, sure, the column is
Wonderful.
there, and so it was really, it was very rewarding.
Here we are 2 nights later. It's July 23rd, and we're continuing our talk. By the way, Nell, I saw this hanging on your wall, and I wondered if this was the event that you were talking about.
That certainly is. That certainly is the event. And it's a magnificent memento of a wonderful occasion.
And could you tell us, I see Eleanor Roosevelt, and this is you, and this is
Tamar
Mrs.
DeSolopool.
DeSolopool.
She was at that point the national president of Senior Hadassah.
And you're giving...
Giving her the scrapbook that the children of Meir Shvea had dedicated to the First Lady of the world, Eleanor Roosevelt. This
She's
is
in New York
the
for the
event.
event.
And that event was covered by the New York Times and by the other newspapers, and it was never to be forgotten.
What year was it? Was it during the war?
That must have been in 1940, I think. 1940.
It's a beautiful picture. Now, speaking of the Roosevelts, what were your impressions of the president and Mrs. Roosevelt?
Well, I'm going to refer you to this report of the meeting at the White House, because that was the report that was in my file to Nell from Nell, and it described how I reacted to them. I just said, the president is wonderful to look at. He has one marvelous face. He speaks with many gestures. He screws his lips up often. He has a marvelous sense of humor, is devilish, and loves to use wisecracks. He was so very patient, especially with many of the aggressive chutzpahniks who were disrespectful. At 11 o'clock, the discussion ended, and lemonade, beer, and sandwiches were served. We left at 11:20. That means we spent 4 hours and 20 minutes at the White House. 3 hours and 20 minutes with the president. And he was wheeled away to take a call from the Secretary of State. And the group applauded and applauded until he was out of sight. What an experience, I write to myself. My regret is that I didn't take shorthand notes of the entire discussion, but I didn't want to distract my focus on the president. To hear everything he said and note-taking seemed to get in the way. It was informal, delightful, exciting, informational, and inspiring. I love the president and I adore Mrs. Roosevelt. Imagine she brought this meeting about. She had said she persuaded the president that this was a valuable thing to do, to come face to face with these young people who were exposed to and passing on misinformation and acting on lies. She's the most wonderful person. I am in awe of her. She sat through the whole discussion, and it was obvious from the look on her face that she was pleased that the meeting had taken place. That's what I wrote to myself about that same night, the next day after that meeting.
Do you have a date on that? Do you know when that meeting, that
No,
whole?
I think somewhere in, I should have a date, but I don't have it. But my guess is that it had to be somewhere in the period between 39 and 40.
Yeah. It sounds like it was before the war started.
Yes.
So it had to be
That's right. It was
around
before.
40.